It's our pleasure to have so many guests from many different places to attend our 21st Mountain Science and Technology Association Southeast Chapter. Tonight, we have very good program, and tonight is for all the youth achievement winners. So our program will start very soon. First, I would like to invite our Director General of TACO to give us a brief remark. Let's give him a big hand of applause.
Chairman Pinto, board members, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is my great pleasure and honor to be here tonight to congratulate the Mountain Science and Technology Association, Southeastern U.S. on its 21st annual conference and Young Award banquet. On behalf of the Taipei Economic and Cultural Office in Atlanta, my colleagues and I offer all best wishes for the success of tonight's event. Under the leadership of Chairman Lin Zhong, Mount Jade has made great efforts and service to Taiwanese Americans in the fields of science and technology. Your enthusiasm and efforts are greatly appreciated by the community in this region. I'd like to take this opportunity to commend your achievements. Without your efforts, tonight's banquet couldn't be possible. May I invite you to a round of applause? As some of you know, my working areas include the 6 southeastern states of Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Alabama. If my office can be of service in any way in the future, please do not hesitate to contact my colleagues and me. Thank you for having me tonight. Wish you all the best in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Gerald, for the opening remark. Before we invite our keynote speaker comes up here, I want to remind you a couple of things. First, everybody should have this year's yearbook in your hand, and should have detailed program of tonight's banquet. So if you need a more yearbook, please come up to pick up some copy so you can record, you know the program detail. Second, during the banquet, our student winners will help ourselves raffle tickets. As you can see, we have many raffle prizes. Also, the top 5 prizes already listed on the board. Basically, the first prize will be China Airlines sponsored airline round trip ticket from either New York, San Francisco, or Los Angeles to Taipei round trip. This year, the ticket is no blackout day. You can make a reservation a week before. So wish everybody good luck. Okay. Now, we would like Dr. Joseph Ten come up the stage, try to introduce our tonight's keynote speaker. We give Dr. Ten a big hand.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, President Chu, Director General Lai. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it is my great pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker for this evening, Mr. Doug Hooker and his beautiful wife, Patrice. Okay, there is a very nice description of Doc's background in the book, and I'm going to talk a little bit about something that is not listed here. But I think it is worthwhile to tell you that Doc right now is the Executive Director of the Atlanta Regional Commission that oversees 20 counties in this Atlanta region. So when I went to a conference, this was just about a week ago. It was over the World Congress Center. And Mr. Doug Hooker was standing in front of more than, I think I better just hold it. Was standing in front of more than probably 1,200 audiences at the World Congress Center. Thank you, Dr. Chu. And it was 7:12 in the morning. And just imagine who could attract that many people at the World Congress Center. And Mr. Doug Hooker. He is a great speaker, and he graduated from Georgia Tech, mechanical engineering. And I know mechanical engineering right now are the top 3 in the nation. And Doug and I have worked for Georgia Power together. And he was at Georgia Power from 1979 to 1985. He was also a graduate of Emory University. He has served a number of different positions, so I'm not going to repeat that here. But I do want to tell you that tonight we have a number of talents in the Youth Award winner list. And you all enjoy music. And I have to tell you that talking about music, Doug Hooker is a master. He is a composer of music. So I think after tonight's speech, you not only want to know what he has to say for the overall development of the Atlanta Regional Commission, but also you may want to ask him about his music expertise. So it's pretty much of classical and also in terms of music, he enjoys the music. And he also enjoys sports. So without further ado, I would like to introduce great Doug Hooker for tonight's keynote speech.
Share some remarks with you. Can everybody hear at the back? Can you hear us? All right. Does that work better? Okay. Tonight I'd like to talk a little bit about where the Metro Atlanta region is heading and some of the demographics that are driving changes in the region, and tell you a little bit about the Atlanta Regional Commission and what we are doing to try to help the community make the most of some of these changes. Before I get started, let me say a little bit about what the Atlanta Regional Commission is, or we frequently refer to it as ARC, not ARC, but ARC, because a lot of people don't know much about us. The Atlanta Regional Commission is chartered by the state of Georgia to help the multiple counties around the city of Atlanta with planning for the future. So we provide a variety of planning and programs to help the region grow in a lot of different areas, including transportation, community development, water, workforce development, economic development, and aging. And nobody knows anything about aging, right? Because we're all eternally young. Depending on what area we're working with, we may be working with an area as small as 7 counties or as large as Dr. Tan referred to, 20 counties. So we're working with a lot of people around Metro Atlanta. Our core area is a 10-county area. 10 counties around Atlanta, which include Cobb, Clayton, Cherokee, DeKalb, Douglas, Fulton, Fayette, Gwinnett, Henry, and Rockdale. And all of those counties are members of our organization, and their chairman or their leaders, elected leaders, are my board representatives. In addition, we represent 70 cities. The Atlanta region in those 10 counties contains 70 cities and 4.2 million people. So, what's going to happen to us over the next 30 years as a region? Part of our job is to forecast the likely trends that will happen over the next 30 years and offer technical advice to government leaders, business leaders, and other community leaders about how we prepare for those changes over the next 30 years. Well, first of all, our region is going to add almost 3 million new people. So imagine that. How many of you have been to Chicago before? Many of you have been to Chicago. So in about 30 years, we'll be as big as Chicago is now, with almost 8 million people in the region. We will add about 1.5 million new jobs, which is a great thing. And we're going to all get older as a region. In fact, our aging population is going to increase 5 times, so that people over the age of 65 will represent 20% of the population of the region. And 500,000 of those seniors will be actually over the age of 85. So first time in the history of this region, history of this country, where we will have had so many people living that long and so many generations living together. But despite the aging, we're still going to remain one of the younger communities throughout the nation, because we will continue to have a larger share of younger people under the age of 25 as a part of our population. Needless to say, our ethnic diversity is also changing. It has been changing rapidly for years and will continue to do so, such that by the year 2040, maybe I'll just wait. I'm having a hard time hearing myself because so many people are talking. And I know you guys are having a fun time, but if I have to yell, it doesn't help us. Okay, let me try it again. Our ethnic diversity is also changing very rapidly. Thank you, I appreciate that. So much so that by the year 2040, our populations will be roughly 36% non-Hispanic white, 35% non-Hispanic black, 20% Hispanic, and 9% Asian American. So roughly almost a third between whites, blacks, and other ethnic groups, which is a dramatic change from how Atlanta has historically been. But no matter what we look like, no matter how old or young we are, no matter what languages we speak, the important thing is what will happen for our region and how will we remain a competitive place in the global marketplace. How do we continue to be an attractive, sustainable, viable place that people, and especially young people, like a lot of our young award winners tonight, will want to stay at or come back to? One of ARC's duties is to periodically develop a comprehensive economic development strategy. And we do this so that our local governments can obtain federal funds for economic development in their communities. Quite frankly, in the past, it has been a paper exercise. It didn't require us to talk to economic development organizations. But in recent years, we have begun to note a trend happening in some of our peer regions. And that is, in some of these other places, their economic development organizations and their local governments were beginning to work together as a regional entity. And in doing so, they're getting more successful at attracting jobs to their region. They have found that it's better for them to work together to get the jobs into the region and then compete with each other once the job is coming to the region. Some of the places that we've seen this happening are Seattle and Houston, Philadelphia, amongst many others. And so as we were imagining where Atlanta might go in the depths of the recession, we said, why not us? Why can't we get all of our economic development organizations, our chambers of commerce, our governments, our universities, to work together as a regional marketing organization to bring jobs into the region, to compete better. Jobs that may come from Taiwan, companies from Taiwan or mainland China setting up in the United States. So we began working on a new development strategy that involved a regional partnership. And our premise was that if we could get the major chambers of commerce, the local governments, most of our universities, our technical schools, and our public school systems, as well as our business and nonprofit leaders, to come up with a common strategy to market Metro Atlanta, then we could be a much more competitive force on the world stage. Because what was important, the message that we've been trying to teach our folks in recent years, is that the competition is not between Gwinnett County and DeKalb County. The competition in global economics no longer is between Clayton County or the city of Atlanta or Cobb County. The competition is Metro Atlanta versus Denver or Dubai or Seattle or Singapore or Houston or Beijing. It's a bigger, a more complex game, and it needs greater resources and greater cooperation if we're going to be successful. And so, in 2011, we gathered many leaders representing those different sectors of the community. And by the end of 2012, last year, we actually developed a regional economic competitiveness strategy that meshes very well with their local strategy and also meshes very well with the governor's competitiveness strategy for the state. It was complementary. So nobody's having to do something for the region that violates what they're trying to do for their local effort. That group has now become an implementation team, and very recently they have begun working on how we begin to implement this great strategy for the entire region. We have leadership for that. Craig Lesser, who some of you may remember was the former State Department Commissioner of Economic Development, is leading that effort. And the team is divided up into 4 subcommittees around the 4 goal areas for the regional strategy. And let me share those with you. First goal area is educated workforce. We have to find solutions to improve our poor quality of the public schools in the region. You're probably very well aware that Georgia ranks near the bottom consistently in educational attainment for public schools. But the workers who will fill the high-tech, high jobs of the future need much greater skill set than the young people who are coming out of many of our schools in Metro Atlanta and in Georgia right now. We have to have an educated workforce to fill those jobs if we're going to remain competitive, because the companies are going to where the educated workforce are. It used to be back in the 60s and 70s and 80s that people migrated to where companies were. But that has changed, and a lot of that has changed because of the younger generation that looks for a certain quality of life and where they want to stay, where they want to work and live. That's where employers are starting to move and locate their jobs. So it's a critical change in how we have to think about our economy. At the very depth of the recession in Metro Atlanta, there were 3.6 job openings in this region for every unemployed person. For every unemployed person with a bachelor's degree, there was 1.6 jobs. So there was more jobs available than unemployed people. So why were they unemployed? It's because they did not have the skill sets that those employers need in order to fulfill the jobs. So we have to be a lot better at developing in our young people the skill sets that future employers will need. The second area of our strategy is prosperous businesses. The region has to promote and invest in our existing businesses to help them grow and become more profitable. ARC estimates that 55% or more of the new jobs in our region over the next 30 years will come from existing businesses. And we can increase that percentage even more if we focus on partnership, on the kinds of things we need to help you as business owners and business executives grow your businesses. Are they financial incentives? Are they tax incentives? Are they additional training for your workforce? Whatever you need, we need to focus on what we can do to help you grow your job. Because the majority of jobs are going to come from businesses that exist or will be created inside of this region. And that's a good thing, because helping you as local business owners and others is a lot less expensive and a lot less risky proposition than going around the globe chasing after employers who can move here and bring large lots of jobs. We're still going to have to do that as well, though. We have to go after and compete for large employers that have major jobs. But in order to be successful against the big metros of this nation and the world, we have to do that together. And some of the job areas that we're going to be focusing on are healthcare, IT, financial services, IT, logistics, internet security, and digital media. Our third goal area is assisting innovative entrepreneurs. Metro Atlanta has a very strong university community. In fact, we have one of the strongest university communities of any city in the United States. I think ours is actually fifth in terms of the size. We have over 250,000 students every day that attend colleges and universities in this region. And most of them are going to class, at least that's what they tell their parents are going to class. And they're getting an education, and many of them, unfortunately, are leaving to go other places across the world because the kind of job they're looking for can't be found here. So, or the new ideas that they have, they can't find the capital that will be invested to help them grow their companies with their new ideas. So we have to focus on creating a better environment, a more supportive environment to help entrepreneurs get seed capital for their ideas, to be able to stay here when it's time to grow those businesses, and when they grow into mid-sized or larger corporations, find that they have sufficient support right here in Metro Atlanta. That would be the third pillar of our focus. And then the last pillar of our focus of our regional competitiveness strategy is community design. People are increasingly looking for nice, walkable places where they don't have to drive so much, particularly younger workers. It's a trend that we've been seeing long before the recession, that younger people are not owning cars and driving as much as us that we had, their parents and grandparents before them. Atlanta has sometimes been called a collection of great neighborhoods, and in a lot of ways it is. But as you all are very well aware, over the last 30 years, we have sprawled out further and further from the core, from the inner city. But in the last 10 years, that pattern has begun to reverse itself without a lot of attention by folks. We recently had a national real estate expert, Chris Lineberger, who did a study of growth patterns in the Atlanta Regional since 2000. And what he found was that our sprawl pattern had slowed significantly, and rather our inner city communities were growing a lot more rapidly. In fact, since 2008, 60% of the region's new investment in office, commercial, residential, and retail has happened in small urban communities, small walkable communities. And those communities comprise less than 0.5% of the total land area of the region. So think about that. Less than 0.5% of the entire region has gotten 60% of the new investment and development. And that trend is going to continue. And that's a good thing for us. However, we have to be able to get as much as 1 to 1.5% of our region become walkable urban neighborhoods to compete with the places like Washington, D.C. and San Francisco and some of the other places around the world that young people are choosing to set up in. This trend wasn't by accident. The ARC had a major hand in helping us change our growth pattern as a region. In 1999, we started an innovative program that has become a national model now. That program is called the Livable Centers Initiative, or LCI program. And through that program, we work with local governments in Atlanta, Metro Atlanta, to give planning grants and construction grants to help them plan and develop walkable places where retail, jobs, residential were in closer proximity and therefore made transportation easier for those residents. And that investment that we've done all these years has done a lot to help turn our trend from spreading out to spreading up. And that's a very important thing and bodes well for the future of this region. So a lot of the things that we're doing these days are focused on the concept of economic competitiveness and how do we help Atlanta compete against the world's major metros. But there are a number of other things that we're doing too. And let me mention just a few of those. Next year we will launch a new economic alliance centered around Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, and it's called the Atlanta Aerotropolis Alliance. For those of you who do a lot of flying in and out of Hartsfield, you're probably familiar with the fact that a lot of the communities around Hartsfield are actually some of our poorest and more struggling communities. And you ask yourself, with the busiest airport in the world right next door, why aren't they doing better economically? It's because they've been acting individually, and they're all small city governments. All small city governments. And they've tried to do things on their own, often not trying to partner with the airport. 2 years ago, we started talking to them, those governments, and a lot of the major corporate entities around this place, including Georgia Power, who's our lead corporate partner in this effort, about coming together and forging a smaller alliance in which they can leverage their nearness to the airport as a competitive advantage to attract new jobs and begin to reshape their communities. And that 2 years of conversation and study and analysis has paid off. And next year we'll launch this new organization, and we're very excited about what it might bring in terms of strengthening that part of the region and our overall economy. Another initiative that we have that focuses on the cultural side of life is we recently were asked, as recently as May of last year, if we would take on the responsibility of overseeing the region's arts and culture portfolio. Because there is no organization, no single organization, that looks at how we help strengthen the arts in our region. And so we've been working on that. And the vision plan that we're developing that will be shared with everybody next year will focus on a few things. How do we help create a more supportive environment for artists? A lot of artists like to set up in Atlanta, find they have to leave and go to places like New York or Los Angeles or Chicago in order to make a living. And so how can we stop that? Because artists provide a quality of life for us that makes life enjoyable. So that's one of the things that the plan will talk about. Another thing that it will focus on is how do we help arts organizations find and grow new patrons? Because a lot of the traditional arts organizations, if you've been to the symphony recently or you've ever seen the ballet, you know that the audiences are getting older, not younger. So how do those organizations find new patrons and bring their art to younger audiences in ways that those audiences will find a way to enjoy? And we'll be working on that. And then the third aspect of this plan is around something called creative industries. A lot of us are familiar with the idea that the film industry has been growing very rapidly in Georgia and mostly in Atlanta. Anybody seen a film crew over the last year? Been stopped by a film crew? Or had your progress impeded by detours because of the film crew? A lot of films are being filmed in Atlanta now, largely because of financial incentives that the state has given. And so that has grown rapidly. We're becoming the Hollywood of the South. But one of the things we need to do to help keep that industry growing is to develop the talent that they need for pre-production and post-production jobs. A lot of the things that are involved with like lighting and set design and costumes and editing and all those kinds of things. There are probably 10 jobs on a film for every actor that there is in the film. And if we can help grow those jobs here, because those folks tend to stay in the place where they are, they don't chase the films around the world, then we can grow an economy with that industry. And those jobs are high-paying jobs, $60,000, $70,000 or more for many of them. So our arts and culture and creative industries plan will help the region focus on how we can do those kinds of things to strengthen the cultural environment in our community and help our arts be a stronger part of our economic development. While we're doing all of this, all these new things, and there's many more that I could speak about, we're staying focused still on some of the basics, such as transportation. We're going to be rolling out an updated transportation plan. You all know that the referendum was voted down, and we've had to get a lot more laser focus on investing our shrinking transportation dollars to get the best result. And the plan that we're coming out next year will probably be one of the best plans in terms of the results for the amount of investment that the region will be making. We've been working very closely with the governor's office on water and defending Atlanta's water rights to Lake Lanier. You're probably aware of the fact that we've been in dispute over the last 23 years with Alabama and Florida. And just this year, Florida sued again after they had lost the Supreme Court on one argument. They sued us on another argument. And the Atlanta Regional Commission and our water staff and J.C. Lynn here in the audience. J.C. trained the young lady who is now the head of our water division, and she's doing a great job, so thank you, J.C., for that. But we're working